Hi guys, it's Mrs. Schacht, and I'm here to discuss the development of two distinct political parties in our new nation, and that's the Federalist Party and the Democratic Republicans, also known as the battle between Hamilton and Jefferson. Now, Ms. Ulrich discussed some political factions that developed during the ratification of the Constitution in the form of the Federalists and Anti-Federalists. Now, the Federalists do go on to become the first official political party in our new republic, and they are formed during George Washington's presidency. While Washington himself does not align with the Federalist Party, he does not call himself a Federalist. He definitely, in his policies and ideas, would probably, it's pretty safe to say he would definitely be a Federalist. But John Adams is a Federalist, Alexander Hamilton is a Federalist, and we're going to see how the remaining Federalists become discontented and eventually break off and form the Democratic Republican Party. There are two kind of major issues that cause that political divide, and that is Alexander Hamilton's financial plan and the French Revolution. So Alexander Hamilton, as Secretary of the Treasury, proposed a financial plan, and it is in red here because it is a Quizlet term, that had three kind of key components. Number one, he wanted to pay off the debts of all states after the American Revolution. Number two, he wanted to increase, obviously, our economy, and he wanted to do that by implementing tariffs both on imported goods and on some items in the United States in order to support American manufacturing. And he wanted to create one central national bank that would organize, pay off debts, and print money. The other issue that caused divisiveness was whether or not, as Americans, we should get involved and help the French during the French Revolution. Now, I want to just branch off and talk a little bit more about Alexander Hamilton's financial plan, simply because you're going to see this word tariff quite a bit over the next few chapters. Again, a tariff is usually a tax on imported goods. So in this case, if you look at this little diagram, right, cloth that maybe came from Great Britain, a tariff would be added. So it would obviously be more expensive to buy foreign made versus American made. But one of the things that Hamilton did while he was Secretary of the Treasury was that he also implemented a tariff on whiskey, which he was hoping would generate quite a bit of revenue to help pay off debts during the American Revolution. Now, unfortunately for Hamilton, this is also known as the Whiskey Insurrection. It took place from 1791 to 1794. And there were many farmers in Pennsylvania in particular that protested this tax on whiskey. And unfortunately, this went on for several years. And eventually, George Washington was able to send in federal troops to go ahead and stop the rebellion, which also signaled the strength of the central government in order to do so. But again, that all goes back to Hamilton's financial plan. Now, many of you know that I'm a huge fan of the hit musical Hamilton, which is also available for streaming on Disney+. But there are two songs that actually speak to the political divide, and that is Cabinet Battle number 1 and number 2. So it's basically a rap battle about those two very issues between Hamilton and Jefferson. And what I would like to do is play a little bit of each for you. So you'll hear George Washington and then specifically Thomas Jefferson. And if you want to just kind of listen for his reasoning as to why he is against Alexander Hamilton's financial plan, go ahead and listen.
You could have been anywhere in the world tonight, but you're here with us in New York City. Are you ready for a cabinet meeting, huh? The issue on the table: Secretary Hamilton's plan to assume state debt and establish a national bank. Secretary Jefferson, you have the floor, sir.
Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We fought for these ideals, we shouldn't settle for less. These are wise words, enterprising men quote them. Don't act surprised, you guys, cause I wrote them. Wow, but Hamilton forgets his plan would have the government assume state debts. Now place your bets as to who that benefits. The very seat of government where Hamilton sits.
Not true.
Oh, if the shoe fits, wear it. If New York's in debt, why should Virginia bear it? Our debts are paid, I'm afraid. Don't tax the South, cause we got it made in the shade. In Virginia.
All right. So let's go back here. All right. So, oops, we got to go back to my screen here. Hang on one second, you guys. All right, there we go. All right. So you heard a little bit about, Jefferson mentioned, right, why should, Virginia bear the debts of maybe states like New York if they've already paid off theirs? Again, that goes to a sign of a small government, and he refers to Virginia being farmers and a more agrarian society, unlike the manufacturers, obviously, in New England. The second cabinet battle refers specifically to whether or not the United States should support France in their entanglements, and this is from cabinet battle number 2.
The issue on the table. France is on the verge of war with England. Now, do we provide aid and troops to our French allies, or do we stay out of it? Remember, my decision on this matter is not subject to congressional approval. The only person you have to convince is me. Secretary Jefferson, you have the floor, sir.
When we were on death's door when we were needy, we made a promise. We signed a treaty. We needed money and guns and half a chance. Who provided those funds?
France.
All right. So he goes on to talk about, right, that, they supported us during the American Revolution, and why shouldn't we support them in return? And Hamilton's going to respond with, the president's going to bring the nation to the brink of meddling in the middle of a military mess. So we just do not have the money, the manpower, the military to deal with foreign entanglements. So these are the two issues that cause that political divide. And what's ironic about it all is that when Washington decides to not seek another term and leave office, he creates what becomes known as Washington's farewell address. And in this farewell address, he essentially kind of warns the country that, forming political parties, being divided politically, getting involved in foreign affairs, those two things are going to be the death of this nation. And ironically enough, right, the two overarching questions throughout time have been political divisions and whether or not we should get involved in foreign affairs with other countries. But he does warn against this in his farewell address as he steps down from the presidency and John Adams takes office. Now, of course, John Adams is the first official Federalist president, but the Federalists are still led by Alexander Hamilton. And of course, just to kind of reiterate, these are also both Quizlet terms. The Federalists believe in a strong central government. Many of them are from New England, so they do support tariffs on imported goods to help with their own manufacturing businesses. And they are definitely supporters of a loose interpretation of the Constitution. There is nothing in the Constitution that states there should be a national bank, but Hamilton advocated for that elasticity of the Constitution, that, it's a working document. And if there is something that will benefit our country, even if it may not be explicitly stated, we can definitely create one. The Democratic Republicans will be led by Thomas Jefferson. He will be the first Democratic Republican president in 1800, and you'll see the first peaceful transition of power from the Federalists to the Democratic Republicans. Many of them believe in stronger state governments versus a powerful central government. They are all mostly from the South, so they support anything regarding agriculture. They are definitely strict interpreters of the Constitution, and as a result, oppose the national bank and tariffs. And when it comes to foreign affairs, as you will hear more of, they're usually pro-French. So knowing these things, I just wanted to share this with you guys and show you how, despite Washington's warnings, we do create political factions. You can see how just over the next 50 plus years, those two parties will evolve. and change quite a bit. And if this chart were to keep going, we could trace it all the way to the political divisions that we have today. So guys, check out some Hamilton. Hope this helped, and have a fantastic day.